So, welcome to our Spotlight series where we highlight members of the CDTRP and the work that we do in the donation and transplant community research field. So, my name is Marie-Claire Capesa, and I am CDTRP's program coordinator, focusing on knowledge mobilization and communications. And today we'll be interviewing Dr. Somaya Zahran, Fan Bei, and Dr. Ahsan Alam as part of our Spotlight paper series. Their paper entitled Genetic Assessment of Living Kidney Transplant Donors, a Survey of Canadian Practices was recently published, and we would love to learn more about the project and the process and why this work is important. Firstly, thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. We really appreciate it. So let's get into the interview. Dr. Alam, would you mind sharing a brief summary of the findings with us today?
No, thanks for having us. It's a real pleasure to share some of the results with the community. And Somaya and Kay, please jump in as you feel needed. So this is actually a project that was spearheaded by trainees with Kay, Princess, and Somaya. And it was a question that came out of how to sort of protect the safety of living donors. We know that living donation, kidney transplantation is the best option for kidney transplantation. But there are families which are affected by genetic conditions, and making sure that the living donor candidates who are approached are safe to proceed despite this sort of familial or genetic predisposition is an important question. And so we wanted to understand what the Canadian landscape was in terms of investigating or screening these genetic conditions. And we started off with a survey, and we approached all the Canadian adult and pediatric transplant centers in Canada with a questionnaire which included scenarios which were designed to address the more common or prevalent genetic conditions, but also where there was some guidance in policies or consensus or statements internationally regarding genetic screening or testing. And so we focused on conditions like autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease, Alport syndromes, Fabry's, FSGS, as well as others, and including conditions like APOL1, which is another risk variant. And in doing this survey, we had a good participation across Canada. And we recognized that there was actually quite a bit of heterogeneity in the approach to genetic testing or screening of living donors in terms of whether these conditions were actually screened for and how they were done and how people were identified. And so it raised some interesting points around the lack of standardization or harmonization across living donors. Although there was a recognition that this is an important consideration for safety of living donors, that probably a lot more work needs to be done to ensure safe donation as well as to personalize these kind of management approaches. And so I think this is a good launching point for further investigation and discussion around this subject.
Thank you for summarizing for us. Dr. Zahran, Kay, do you have any additional points you'd like to address?
No, I think Dr. Alam summarized it very well. We did aim to improve the safety of donation for both recipients and donors, and the prevalence of genetically related living kidney donors in Canada is about 45%. It is and in these cases, those donors would be more likely to have relatively higher risk of kidney disease, and the recipients as well would have a higher risk of worse outcomes. So that really was the motivation behind the question to personalize, the decision to see if there is any evidence base, if we can move towards more standardization.
Yeah, I think everyone covers it pretty well. And in addition, we have more accessible methods of testing now with the increase in technology. So this is a point. Is there any steps that we can take to ensure safety of donation?
Thank you. And this is actually very relevant right now because it's Organ and Tissue Donation Awareness Month in Canada. So it's the perfect time to be discussing these issues. I know that you touched a lot on why this is important to ensure safety for both the donor and the recipient. Do you have any other avenues that you think are also important that you found through the research?
I think one more aspect is that it promotes the discussion and it promotes the process of informed decision making. Living donors can donate if they want within an acceptable range of risk, um, but them knowing exactly what they're getting into as much as possible would help them make that informed decision. Some of them would accept higher risk, some of them would not, and that's really um, the basis behind trying to promote this evidence and help people make right choices and help also physicians um, make the right selection of living donors for safety, like Dr. Alam mentioned.
Yeah, and I think it opens up some opportunities. One, to involve our colleagues who have expertise in this area, medical genetics and genetic counselors, which probably we should establish a bit more relationships with. And then also, as Somaya was saying, it's about a better conversation. So not only are those recipients ready, but actually as nephrologists or transplant uh, clinicians, we should be ready to have these conversations, and we need to have the information that's available, and it can help to follow donors in the long term for those that may be at increased risk to ensure that we're able to mitigate some of those risks if possible.
Yeah, to add to that, I think most of the important points have been covered. In addition, because these are genetic conditions, how do you navigate the conversation? Are there other people that should be involved in that conversation? For example, are there other family members? Are there other like relatives that should be involved in the conversation? How does living donation and aftercare look like? Because a lot of the current idea is that, we select the healthy donors, but like if they're young and these condition hasn't manifested yet, uh, there needs to be information given to the donor so that they're fully informed.
Thank you for bringing up all these wonderful points. Um, yeah, so we'll move on to the next question. So, what were some of the challenges that you encountered throughout the process, and how were you able to overcome them?
Yeah, of course. I guess that this study was very unique because it was really initiated by CDTRP, and we're very grateful to them. So CDTRP was actually the main platform that called for trainees who want to be involved in a study um, that just gathers different trainees from different universities. Like I've never met Kay before. CDTRP brought it together, right? Or Princess or Aisha, the rest of the team, and that's really how it started. And it started in the middle of COVID, so everything was virtual. So one, we didn't know each other's. Two, we were, meeting over screens. So initially, the first challenge was how do we identify the question? How we all had similar, you know, interest in kidney transplant. And some of us had, other ideas. We were trying to find a mentor. CDTRP provided us with, troubleshooting about, initially we were thinking about maybe we can write a review. So they provided us with people to teach us about different types of reviews. We told them we are probably looking into this type of research. They recommended a few mentors for us. And they also facilitated meetings with researchers. So initially to figure out the question, until we've been, of course, very lucky to work with Dr. Alam on this very clinically relevant question. So initially to identify the question and to familiarize themselves with each other's and with our interests and find a common point was a challenge, but it was very easy and everyone was flexible. And we had a very welcoming platform with CDTRP. Along the way, after we identified the question, then it was a little bit sometimes tricky to keep the motivation up, right? Because we started this a few years ago, and sometimes, we were really, I found we were really good collaborators, but sometimes we're doing too many other things as well. This was really a side track that we chose to be part of, thanks to CDTRP. So motivating each others and keeping the collaboration alive was sometimes challenging. Um, And it was the same during sending the survey and trying to get the answers back. Again, it was middle of the COVID. It was not the shortest survey you could answer. So we had to personalize every single email and we had to personalize every single reminder. And we had to make sure Dr. Alam was providing us with list of people. We had to make sure also we are contacting the right people. Some of them were on leaves. We had to figure out who was what. So the actual execution was sometimes tricky because we really wanted to have a really good turnout. And then finally, part of this study was also reviewing the guidelines and see what is there, what is available for, evidence-based to guide, these discussions or these protocols that we were looking for or these practices across the transplant centers, and that they were very, very scarce, except for maybe a condition or two. So we were trying to stay on track and stay focused and CDTRP, we're very grateful for them. They offered different services, translation and financial and everything, and with the guidance from Dr. Alam also. So we were fortunate to have it, see the product of it finally being published.
Yeah, I would credit the trainees. For anybody who's done surveys, it's very hard to get a high response rate. And in this study, we had almost 70% response from the programs across Canada, including the largest programs. And so, we I think it was a lot of persistence and continual effort to make sure that we were able to get a good representation. Not just in terms of the size of the centers, but geographically representing all regions of Canada, including the Francophone and English-speaking centers.
Yeah, I would say the challenges is kind of unique to this type of project and this type of working dynamic, because for a lot of research you work in one lab, you have one PI, like it's PI led or it's one institute, so you're localized, and if you have a question, you're already being introduced to that person because they're your colleague and it's part of one university. But this uniqueness is both a challenge and a benefit. I get to work with Somaya Zahran and Dr. Alam and Princess and Aisha across different institutes, different types of labs that I would never have been able to do outside of CDTLP, right? So that comes both with what the challenges that have been highlighted as well as the benefits of seeing different perspective and working outside of your discipline. And so, as highlighted, the initial scoping of the question, as with any research, has been challenging, but is also quite rewarding in the sense that, you're at the forefront. We, as a team, were the ones driving the direction of the research for the most part. And that is a great learning opportunity. And so I think for the most part, yeah, this has been a very, very unique experience. But some of the challenges being, as highlighted, motivation is that the work goes like up and down. Like when you send out the survey, you have weeks or months of waiting for response, and then you like analyze the data, so you kind of move on to other things, and then you go like, oh, this thing, the answers come back, and you have to like shift focus. So like with everything, there's ebbs and flows. So when things start to conflict with our other commitments, that can be a bit of challenge, especially since most of this work is done remotely. But it is kind of like teaching how to shift focus and time management. So yeah.
Thank you so much all for sharing. Yes, these are all very important things to know, and I'm glad that the CDTRP was able to support you throughout the process. And it's great to see the initiative and the consistency and the persistence to um, finish it and get as many responses as you can, and finally you have the end product, which is an amazing paper. So congratulations to everybody. Um,
But I think Somaya already highlighted and Anki highlighted the role of CDTRP in helping the trainees and providing the resources for them to complete the project. But it's also important to highlight sort of the knowledge translation piece and allowing a forum for this to be presented at the CDTRP forum. It actually was presented at the Canadian Society of Nephrology as well as an oral presentation. And I think the supporting its publication, getting the information, the research out there is, I think, a credit to CDTRP as well.
Yeah, I want to highlight also the CDTRP as a unique platform to gather different collaborations across Canada who have similar interests, really to advance the field of transplant and organ donation. So that's really the best platform for people to get together, learn from each other, and have different expertise and different perspectives.
Yeah, to echo everyone else's thoughts, this would not have been possible without CHLP. The cross-discipline, cross-institute collaboration that from the trainee level is very rare. And so I'm thankful for CTLP for creating the, I guess, bedrock that we can use to make this research a possibility. So, and to provide a lot of these supports, including learning about different types of review, providing us the support that we needed to make this project possible and to publish it.
Thank you all for sharing. Thank you for being present for the interview. We really appreciate it. So thank you to everybody that's listening, and I hope that you tune into our next Spotlight paper series as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.